The late afternoon sun dips below the treetops, casting a golden glow over our quiet neighborhood. Rows of pristine houses stand in perfect formation, each one a carbon copy of the next. Identical shutters, spotless driveways, neatly trimmed hedges that toe the line of HOA perfection. On the surface, it's peaceful, but I know better. Sitting on my front porch, I listen for the familiar sound of Malik's cane tapping against the pavement. It's rhythmic, steady, until it isn't. He pauses just for a second, and I feel in my chest before I even see him. Apollo, his guide dog, lets out a soft whine. His golden fur shimmers in the fading sunlight as he tugs gently at Malik's harness, sensing something before any of us do. I straighten, setting my coffee down. Something feels off. "Everything okay, bud?" I call out. Malik hesitates. I think there's something on the door. I push up from my chair and meet him at the porch steps. Sure enough, a crisp white paper is taped to the front door, flapping slightly in the evening breeze. My stomach tightens before I even read the words. Violation notice. Unauthorized animal on premises. Final warning. I exhale slowly, crumpling the paper in my fist. The words sting, but not as much as what they really mean. This isn't about a violation. This isn't about Apollo. This is about us. Ever since we moved into this neighborhood, a mostly white upper-middle-class HOA-run community, there's been a quiet tension, an unspoken rule that we don't quite belong. It started small, polite, but pointed questions at HOA meetings, neighbors who suddenly stopped making eye contact when I walked by. The first time Malik played in the cul-de-sac with the other kids, a board member happened to be on patrol and asked where he lived. It was never overt, never outright, but was always there. And now, they were getting bolder. I glance at Malik, who tilts his head, waiting for my response. He can't see my expression, but he can hear it in my voice. I force a reassuring smile he can't see, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Don't worry, kiddo. It's just another one of their little games." He nods, trusting me. Apollo nuzzles against his leg, sensing the shift in the air that I should be angry. But right now, all I feel is cold certainty. This isn't just a warning. It's a promise. The HOA is coming for us, and they're coming for Apollo next. The next morning, something feels off that I can't put my finger on it at first. The air outside is thick and still, heavy with something unspoken. Malik is inside, finishing breakfast, unaware of the weight pressing down on me as I step onto the porch. Apollo's paws click softly against the wood as he follows, his ears twitching at every distant sound. Then I see that a group of HOA board members stands at the end of my driveway. 5 of them, dressed in their usual press slacks and pastel blouses, all gathered in a tight semicircle like vultures waiting for something to die. Linda Cartwright, the HOA president, stands at the center, clutching a clipboard like a scepter. Her smile is polite, but her eyes are sharp. Cold, I force my own smile and walk toward them. "Morning. Something I can help you with." Linda's head tilts just slightly, the way someone might look at an unruly child. "We're just making our rounds, ensuring community guidelines are being followed." She gestures vaguely toward my house. "We received a concern about a dog on the premises." A concern, as if Malik's guide dog were a rodent infestation instead of a federally protected service animal. That I keep my voice steady. "You mean Apollo?" She doesn't answer right away. The other board members shift uncomfortably, but no one speaks. Linda clears her throat. "Homeowners have expressed discomfort about," she waves a hand, "uncontrolled animals in the neighborhood." Uncontrolled. My jaw tightens. Apollo sits at my feet, his leash secured, his posture perfect. He doesn't bark, doesn't move. He's the very definition of controlled. I step forward. "Apollo is a registered service dog. You know that. We've had this conversation before." Linda doesn't flinch. If anything, her expression hardens. "Well, unfortunately, the board has reviewed the bylaws, and service animals must be pre-approved before residents. There's no official documentation on file for." She checks her clipboard, pretending to read. "Apollo." My fingers curl into fists. I submitted that paperwork when we moved in. I remember handing it over in person. This isn't a clerical error. This is a power play. I take a slow breath. I have copies inside. I'd be happy to. That won't be necessary. Linda cuts me off smoothly. The board has already ruled. If the animal remains on the property past the violation deadline, we will have no choice but to remove it. Remove it. Like Apollo is a broken fence panel or an overgrown bush. The board disperses, their polished shoes tapping against the pavement as they walk away. Apollo presses against my leg, sensing the storm inside me. I scratch his head, keeping my voice calm for Malik's sake. They think they've won. They have no idea what's coming. I don't remember storming off the porch, but suddenly I'm in Linda Cartwright's face, close enough to see the slight twitch at the corner of her smirk. Where is he? My voice is low, controlled. Barely. Linda doesn't flinch. I already told you, Mr. Carter. Apollo has been relocated. Where? She sighs, folding her arms as if I'm the one being unreasonable. That's confidential HOA business. Confidential? They stole my son's guide dog, and she's treating this like some bureaucratic checklist. I inhale sharply, fist tightening. This isn't just about Apollo. It never was. You have no legal right to take a service animal. I say, voice steady but razor sharp. That's a direct violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Her expression doesn't change, but the other board members glance at each other, nervous. Linda, however, is unfazed. She taps her clipboard. You may feel that way, but unfortunately, the homeowner agreement you signed gives us full authority over any animals deemed disruptive or unregistered. The smugness in her voice makes my blood boil. I did sign an agreement that explicitly exempted service animals. This is about power, about putting us in our place. Behind me, Malik grips the porch railing. His voice wavers. Dad, I exhale slowly, steadying myself. I can't lose it. Not in front of Malik. Not in front of these people that I step back, jaw clenched. I want Apollo back. Now. Linda's smile never falters. Then you'll have to file an appeal with the board. We'll review your request at next month's meeting. Next month. My vision tunnels for a second. They expect me to stand by while Malik, my son, who needs Apollo, wanders through this world blind and vulnerable, all because they decided he doesn't deserve his independence. No, I won't let that happen. Fine. My voice is calm now. Too calm. I'll handle this myself. Linda's eyes narrow, sensing a shift. I'd be careful if I were you, Mr. Carter. We wouldn't want this to escalate into something unpleasant. It's a threat, a thinly veiled one, wrapped up in the same patronizing tone I've heard since the day we moved in. I turn away without another word. This conversation is over. But the fight? It's just starting. Gathering evidence inside, I move quickly. Malik stands near the door, his fingers curling and uncurling at his sides. What's going on? His voice is small. Where's Apollo? I kneel in front of him. I'm going to find him, okay? I promise. He nods, trusting me. He always does, but trust won't bring Apollo home. Action will. I grab my phone and start making calls. First, the local animal control office. Nothing. Then the non-emergency police line. The officer listens, but when I mention the HOA, his tone shifts. Indifferent. I can already hear the excuses forming. Sir, if the HOA deemed the dog a violation, you'll need to resolve it through their internal process. Internal process. Right. Because that worked so well last time. I hang up, frustration mounting. I need proof. Real, undeniable proof that Linda and her goons illegally took Apollo. That I pull up the security camera feed from my phone, scrolling through last night's footage. And there it is, 2:14 a.m. A white HOA marked van rolls up to my house. Two men step out. No uniforms, no badges. Just HOA branded jackets. They slip into my yard like thieves, and within minutes, they're leading Apollo away. No struggle, no barking. They must have muzzled him. I clench my jaw so hard it hurts. I download the footage and send it to 3 places. My cloud storage, my lawyer, and my best friend, Darren, who works as an investigative journalist. By the time I'm done, my phone buzzes. It's Darren. Tell me you didn't just send me a video of the HOA kidnapping your son's guide dog. Oh, it's real. My voice is ice. There's a pause. Then Darren exhales sharply. This isn't just an HOA dispute. This is federal. They violated the ADA. That's a crime. I nod, even though he can't see me. Yeah. My fingers tighten around the phone. And I'm about to make sure the right people know it. Because Linda thinks she's untouchable. She thinks she can erase us, but she has no idea. She just made the biggest mistake of her life that I don't knock. I don't wait for an invitation. I push open the double doors to the HOA board's weekly meeting, my boots echoing against the polished hardwood floor. The air inside is thick with self-importance. Rows of neatly dressed homeowners murmuring in quiet conversation. Linda Cartwright at the front, gavel in hand like she's presiding over a damn courtroom. The chatter dies the moment they see me. Linda's smile is sharp. Fake. Mr. Carter, this is a closed. I drop my phone on the table in front of her. Play the video. A flicker of irritation crosses her face. I don't know what you think you're doing, but this is highly. I said play it. Her eyes narrow, but she picks up the phone. presses play. The room is silent as the footage rolls 02:14 a.m. The HOA security van creeping up my street. Two men slipping into my yard. Apollo, led away in the dark like stolen property, that a murmur spreads through the crowd, that Linda's face remains impassive. But I see it, the tightening of her grip, the slight shift in her posture. She presses stop. Sets the phone down carefully, like it might explode. Mr. Carter, you had no legal right. My voice is steady, but my pulse pounds. That's a felony. Violating the Americans with Disabilities Act? That's federal. I step closer. Where is Apollo? Linda doesn't answer right away. She smooths the lapel of her blazer, forcing a patronizing smile. You seem very emotional about this, but the fact remains, Apollo was an unregistered animal violating HOA guidelines. She turns to the audience, as if explaining to a child. We have clear bylaws in place to maintain the integrity of our community. If we allowed every homeowner to keep whatever animal they pleased, we'd have chaos. I let the moment stretch, then I pull out another card. I raise my voice. You stole a federally protected service animal from a blind child. A gasp ripples through the audience. Whispers, shifting chairs that Linda's face tightens. But she still thinks she's in control. She exhales, her voice cool. We relocated Apollo to a certified animal holding facility until the matter is resolved. You mean the kill shelter on Briarwood? I snap. Linda's composure slips for a fraction of a second. The murmurs turn to outright outrage. People start checking their phones. I know why. Darren's article went live 10 minutes ago. I step forward, lowering my voice just for her. You try to have my son's service dog put down. Linda finally glares. You're making baseless accusations. I don't let her finish. I turn to the crowd. Did anyone else know the HOA was using our fees to fund illegal animal seizures? The crowd erupts. Some people look horrified, others furious. A woman in the back stands up. Is this true, Linda? Linda holds up her hands. The HOA acted within its rights. A man in the front row shakes his head. That's not what it sounds like. Another homeowner mutters, I didn't vote for this. Then a voice cuts through the noise. Mr. Carter? A uniformed officer steps into the room, followed by two federal agents in suits. The HOA board freezes. That Linda's face drains of color. One of the agents pulls out a badge. Agent Ramirez, FBI. He turns to Linda. We received a complaint regarding ADA violations and animal theft. We'll need to ask you a few questions. The room is dead silent. Linda recovers quickly, straightening her shoulders. I have nothing to hide. Ramirez doesn't blink. Great. Then you won't mind explaining why an HOA-run private security firm has been conducting unauthorized seizures, because according to the evidence we just reviewed, your group has been illegally removing service animals from multiple homes. Multiple homes. That I glance at Linda, and for the first time, she looks uncertain. Ramirez pulls out a document. We also have a warrant to search your HOA's financial records. If we find any evidence of fraud, embezzlement, or misuse of funds, he lets the sentence hang. Linda swallows hard. That I take a step closer, my voice deadly quiet. Where's Apollo? A long silence. Then, finally, her mask cracks. He's at Briarwood. I don't wait for her to say anything else. I'm already out the door, heading straight for my son's dog. I don't waste time. The second Linda confirms Apollo's location, I storm out of the HOA meeting, my heartbeat like a war drum in my chest. Ramirez and his agents are right behind me. The moment we step outside, he signals to a black SUV parked across the street. Briarwood Animal Control Facility, I say, already moving. We're on it. Ramirez motions to his team. I hop into my truck. Tires screech as I peel out of the neighborhood. My phone buzzing nonstop. Darren's article is everywhere. HOA board members' faces are plastered across the headlines. HOA caught stealing service dog from blind child. FBI investigating illegal seizures. I push harder on the GAS. By the time I pull up to Briarwood, there's already a small crowd forming. News vans, protesters, angry homeowners. And at the front of it all, my son, Malik, standing with his cane gripped tightly in one hand, his aunt beside him. The moment I get out, Malik turns his head toward my voice. Dad! I crouch beside him, squeezing his shoulder. I'm getting it back, son. The shelter's entrance is blocked by two staff members, but I'm done waiting. Ramirez steps forward, flashing his badge. Federal investigation. Open the gates. They hesitate, until a second SUV pulls up. Two local police officers step out. The shelter workers share a glance before stepping aside. The doors swing open, and the smell of disinfectant and fear floods my nose. The kennels rattle with barking dogs. I push past them, scanning the cages. Then I hear a whimper, and my stomach twists as I reach the last row. Apollo is curled in the back of a metal cage, his golden fur dirty, his ears pressed flat against his head that I kneel. Apollo boy, it's me. He lifts his head. The second he recognizes my voice, he lunges forward, pawing at the bars, letting out a broken, desperate bark that I grit my teeth. Get these doors open. Now. One of the officers steps forward, snapping the lock with bolt cutters. The second the door swings open, Apollo leaps into my arms, whining, his entire body trembling. I grip his fur tight, pressing my forehead against his "I got you, buddy." Behind me, I hear someone clear their throat that I turn. And there, standing stiffly in the doorway, is Linda Cartwright. Her face is red, her hands clenched into fists. This is insane. You're making a spectacle out of this. I stand, keeping a hand on Apollo's head. You stole a disabled child's service dog, lied about it, and tried to have him put down. And you think I'm a problem? She scoffs, folding her arms. This is all just one big misunderstanding. Ramirez steps beside me, holding up his phone. Then I suppose you can explain this. He presses play. The room fills with Linda's voice. I don't care if it's a damn service animal. Get rid of it. If we have to put it down, then so be it. The recording ends. The shelter workers gape at her. A reporter in the crowd gasps. Oh my God, was that you? Linda's face drains of color. It's taken out of context. Ramirez shakes his head. It's part of an ongoing investigation. The FBI has been monitoring illegal seizures in this HOA for months. Your voice is on record, approving theft and destruction of federally protected service animals. The weight of it finally settles in. She knows she's done. Still, she flails. This is harassment. I was doing my job. She turns to the crowd, desperate now. These bylaws exist for a reason. We can't have those kinds of people ruining our neighborhood. A hush falls. The weight of her words hangs in the air. And just like that, Linda Cartwright buries herself. Reporters scribble. Cameras flash. The crowd erupts. One man steps forward. So that's what this is about, huh? You think you can just decide who belongs? Another woman shakes her head in disgust. You stole from a blind kid. Linda takes a step back, looking for an escape. Anyone on her side. But the board members? The ones who back her? They're gone. And then a new voice. I'd like to have a word. A tall man in a suit steps forward. City official. He holds up a document. As of this morning, an emergency hearing has been scheduled to review the HOA's actions. Your finances will be audited. Pending findings, your authority will be revoked. Linda sputters. You can't. Oh, I can. He smirks. And one more thing. He gestures to the officers. They step forward. Linda Cartwright, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit theft, ADA violations, and animal cruelty. She screeches as they take her wrists. You can't do this. I built this neighborhood. But no one is listening. The crowd watches as she's dragged toward the squad car. I exhale. Look down at Malik. He's smiling. She's really gone, huh? I ruffle his hair. Yeah, kiddo. She is. Apollo presses his nose against Malik's palm, tail wagging. And just like that, order is restored. The dust settles. Linda Cartwright is gone, hauled away in handcuffs, her screams fading into the background. But the real damage? It's only just beginning. By morning, her face is everywhere. News reports, social media, front page headlines. HOA president arrested in shocking service dog scandal. FBI investigates illegal seizures. It's not just her. The entire HOA board is under investigation. Their financial records are a mess. Embezzlement, fraudulent fees, secret payouts. Turns out they weren't just targeting my family. They were extorting everyone. And now the whole neighborhood knows that I stand on my porch, sipping my coffee as I watch the fallout unfold. HOA members are gathered in small clusters, whispering in hushed tones. Some look guilty, others angry. Not at me, not at Malik. Themselves, Linda's inner circle. They've all turned on her, scrambling to save their own skins. One woman, a board member who voted for the dog's removal, crosses the street toward me, wringing her hands. She hesitates. I didn't know she was. I hold up a hand. You knew. Maybe not all of it, but enough. Her mouth opens, closes. She nods, shame washing over her face. Across the yard, Mr. Holloway, one of the older residents, a Vietnam vet, steps forward, clearing his throat. Listen, son. I'll admit, I didn't stand up when I should have. And that was wrong. He glances at Malik. That boy of yours. He's stronger than all of us. I glance down at Malik, who sits on the steps, Apollo curled beside him. He scratches behind the dog's ear, a small, satisfied smile on his face that he is strong. Stronger than I ever realized. Holloway nods at Apollo. If you need anything, any repairs, legal fees, whatever, you let us know. I don't answer right away, because for the first time in years, I don't feel like an outsider here. I nod. Appreciate it. And just like that, the tide turns. 2 weeks later, the new HOA holds an emergency vote. The bylaws are rewritten. No more harassment, no more petty fines, no more power trips disguised as community regulations. Most of Linda's old crew, they're gone, replaced by people who actually want to make the neighborhood better. And Linda, last I heard, she lost everything, her job, her pension, her reputation. Turns out getting arrested for fraud and animal cruelty isn't great for the OL resume. Couldn't have happened to a better person. That evening, I stand in the backyard, watching the sun dip behind the trees. Apollo trots beside me, his fur catching the last golden light. Malik sits in the grass, tossing a ball, laughing as Apollo darts after it. He turns toward me, grinning. You think he knows he's famous? I chuckle. Probably. A breeze rolls through the yard. The scent of jasmine and fresh-cut grass fills the air. For the first time in a long time, there's peace. Real peace that I sit beside my son, wrapping an arm around his shoulder. We made it through. And we're stronger for it.